Velasco, and thank you for reading. Manny Pacquiao, the gold. I don't think there'll be a problem for Manny.
As it's very, very fighters. But every once in a while, human mind can also be considered a muscle. And having a muscle training, a proportion of
PM, only here on Para sa Bayan.
Mabuhay Pilipinas and welcome world. This is Round by Round presented by Eastern Communications. I'm Bill Velasco and we have the entire gang here, the dirty half dozen of Philippine boxing journalism. Dennis, what is Round by Round?
Well, one word lang, Bill, credibility. You've seen all of us do some talks and analysis about the biggest fights that we've seen. Dito sa Round by Round, in one show, makikita po ninyo lahat. But the most important thing is that we won't be copying or quoting any stories, any development, because the personalities themselves talk about Bob Arum, talk about Mayweather, the De La Hoyas, all the boxers, all the trainers. We will bring them to you. Kami mismo ang mag-iimbita sa kanila for you to hear straight from the horse's mouth. Dito lang sa Round by Round.
Ryan?
How you doing? It's Ryan Sangalia. Round by Round, we're about exclusive interviews and reports from ringside. This is what we do. This is our life. We are there. We are in the gyms. We're at the fights. We're talking to the boxers. So whatever is the latest and greatest, you'll hear from us.
Attorney Ed?
Well, I'm Ed Tolentino, and we'll be breaking down the fights. We're gonna dissect the fight brick by brick, show it to you, explain to you in layman's term ano nangyari sa laban, bakit nagkaganito, at ano ang susunod na kabanata sa mga boksingerong involved.
And more than that, Nisi, what else have we got?
Hi, I'm Nisi Casiano, the youngest in the group. So Round by Round will also serve as your backstage pass to give you exclusive access to what transpires behind the scenes. Plus, we will meet and speak with the unsung heroes and stakeholders responsible for the position held by Philippine boxing today.
And from the youngest member of the team, we go to Boyet Season.
Thank you, Bill. Mga kaibigan, kami dito sa Round by Round, sa dabi na nga ng aking mga kasama, bibigyan namin kayo ng napaka-komprehensibong mga kwento tungkol sa rangan po ng boxing. Hindi lang kung ano nangyayari sa ring, pati po sa mga nangyayari sa loob at labas ng tolda. Hindi lang tungkol sa mga fighter, pati po yung mga coaches nila, pati po yung mga trainer nila, pati siguro po yung mga mahal nila sa buhay. Paano ba sila nagiging parte ng buhay ng isang boksingero?
Yan po, yan sa maikling salita lamang ay ang Round by Round na matutunghayan nyo Lunes hanggang Biyernes. Online po. Libre po sa lahat. Let's break down what is going to be the big story, a resounding win by your Dennis Ugas over Manny Pacquiao. The world title ultimately secondary because this fight raised so many questions after a long hiatus for both boxers. Attorney Ed, what went down in that fight?
Well, what happened, ang nagpakita sa labang ito is a 42-year-old Manny Pacquiao. He had been inactive for 2 years, the longest layoff ni Manny Pacquiao. Yung what we feared, nagmanifest sa labang ito. Pacquiao said as early as round number 2 and 3, he felt a tightening of his legs, very little leg movement from Manny Pacquiao. But also, let us give credit dito kay Dennis Ugas. Ang ganda ng execution ng kanyang fight plan. Double left jab, right straight. He stuck to this template. Good defense overall for Dennis Ugas. And I thought that he really had Pacquiao's number with that counter right straight. So unfortunately for Manny Pacquiao, he was able to hang on for 12 rounds. Maganda naman eh. Kaya lang talagang mahirap kalaban yung father time kapag 42 ka na over 2 decades in boxing. Nobody beats father time at nakita natin yan sa labang ito.
When we talk about Manny Pacquiao and the long career he's had in America, 20 years he's been fighting in America, the number one word that comes to my mind is respect. And even in defeat, you saw the respect. It weren't people out there saying, "Oh, look at Pacquiao, he got beat, he's this, he's that." People were respectful, but also they were sad. It was a mournful event in a lot of ways because I said this on Twitter last night. Manny Pacquiao, we've been getting old, waiting for Manny Pacquiao to get old, and then finally he got old. And for someone like me who's grew up with Manny Pacquiao as like from when I was a teenager and now into my 30s, it always seemed like everything changed in life. The music formats. We were listening to music on CDs, and now we're listening to MP3s and Apple Music now. Only thing that stayed consistent was Manny Pacquiao was great. So last night it felt like, okay, the time had come, and so that was sort of the mood. It was a sadness. It was almost like a nothing fight. No one was excited at all until we had something to talk about, and now we're all just trying to figure out what happened.
Right, Dennis. It wasn't just a factor of age. Also, it was a matter of matching your abilities with your current capacity to do so. What were some of the things you didn't see that we used to see from a Manny Pacquiao?
Well, Bill, I partly agree and disagree with Attorney Ed and Ryan because father time might be starting to set in for Manny Pacquiao. But I would like to believe that the real reason why he was a bit rusty is because of the 2-year layoff. But it remains to be seen because we have to see him fight again for us to know if the factor was it really the age or yung kanyang pagiging inactive. Okay. Now, the thing na hindi natin nakita, okay, is yung speed and timing of Manny Pacquiao. But I would like to believe that your Dennis Ugas did his homework. No, before we forget, dapat nating hangaan din si Dennis Ugas because he was a typical Cuban fighter, hardworking, prudent, very efficient. Cuban boxers are not known to go for the kill all the time. They're very hardworking, and they work on things one punch at a time, and that was what we saw. I was so impressed with the adjustment ni Yordenis Ugas. I believe he was dominated in the first round, but in an instant, bigla niyang binaliktad, because of that jab na pinatama niya sa first round. So he was the typical Cuban fighter, an exceptional and excellent Cuban fighter. So I felt na talagang deserving na mabigyan ng credit dito si Yordenis Ugas.
Okay, Nisi, in past fights, even when Ugas won the regular welterweight title, he would throw a lot of punches. He would outwork his opponent. He threw double as much as Abel Ramos did when he won the title. Were you surprised that he concentrated more on accuracy than on volume in this fight?
Well, he had to do that to counteract Manny Pacquiao's pesky style. Now, what I can't fully wrap my head around is the fact that with that kind of approach, he compelled Manny Pacquiao to fight at his own pace using a simple strategy, keeping his jabs busy and targeting the body with the right straight. He kept his high guard very tight. He just waited for Manny Pacquiao to open a bit to throw an overhand right. He was doing it over and over again. So when Manny Pacquiao closed the distance with rapid fire combinations, the only thing he did was to remain calm and push Manny Pacquiao with his shoulders or his left arm. He could have traded fire with fire, but no, he chose to stick to his game plan. What's also truly remarkable on the part of Yordenis Ugas is he denied Manny Pacquiao of the Manila Ice or the right hook several times during the fight. So he was simply the better man, and I'm happy that the judges have had it correctly. So they say opportunity knocks only once in your life. For Yordenis Ugas, he saw that opportunity in the form of Manny Pacquiao. It's not every day you would get a chance to fight a future Hall of Famer, an 8th division world champion, and probably one of the best, if not the best boxer to ever lace up a pair of gloves. He had one shot and he grabbed it.
Boyet, you said that it's not the outcome you wanted, but you agreed with the judges. How come?
Okay, for one, alam niyo naman mga kaibigan, alam naman Bill, ni si Attorney Ed, Dennis, and Ryan, you know very well that when Manny Pacquiao fights, the entire Filipino nation is behind him. Whether you come from the left side or the right side of politics, whether you're from Forbes Park or from the lesser economic strata neighborhoods like Tondo, the nation is united when Manny Pacquiao fights. And in this case, we really saw that your Dennis Ugas was really technical in his approach of this fight, even though the guy was a replacement fighter and he was only informed of the fight less than 2 weeks before the actual battle began. So you have to give that respect to your Dennis Ugas. But in the same breath, imagine a 42-year-old Manny Pacquiao who has so much on his plate still actively getting the fans to come and watch his fights live. Even after a 2-year absence from the ring, he still was able to fill up the arena. I mean, mahirap na hindi maging mamangha sa isang taong napakadami ginagawa sa buhay. In his earlier years, he would even do a movie. He would even do a television show. He would even campaign, barnstorm, and still go on go on with his fights. So for anybody worth his salt and worth his being Filipino, whether you like him or not, every time the Pac-Man pulls down and shows his wares on the ring, we are one in supporting him all the time.
Right, spoken like a true boxing fan. Ryan, I just wanted to add on to what you were saying earlier. You were saying there's respect coupled with sadness over this fight. Was there also some disappointment, a letdown on the part of the fans, seeing, as you said, not the old Manny Pacquiao, but an old Manny Pacquiao?
And what are you gonna do? It's this. We all knew that this night was gonna happen, but we never wanted to see it. You know, like there've always been hints. Like Manny Pacquiao is a very proud man, right? Like he's not someone that, you know, if someone tells him, hey, you know, what do you think? You know, you want to retire? He's not someone who's gonna really listen because he's like, oh no, I'm gonna do things on my terms, right? And now it's just like, ooh, we never in Manny Pacquiao's entire career, even though he's lost, he's been knocked out in fights, he's never really been beaten up. And I wouldn't say he got beat up last night, but that was the closest that I had seen to Manny really getting beaten up. And that's something that no one wants to see. Like, you know, remember when Roberto Duran fought William Joppy, those kind of fights, you know, like Ray Robinson against Joey Archer, you know, like nobody wants to see that. You know, there's, you know, there are great fights and then there are like sad moments and nobody wants to feel sad. And that was a little bit of what it was like seeing Superman die. You know, it's the thing that, you know, you don't want to see. So yeah, there was a lot, there wasn't disappointment. There was an understanding that Manny Pacquiao is the truest form of pugilism. He is the most honest fighter there is. He's the guy who fought everyone. Last night he was going to fight Errol Spence. You know, that's he's 42 years old. After seeing what he has left, it should make you realize how tough and fearless Manny Pacquiao is. That version of Manny Pacquiao was going to fight Errol Spence last night. That's all you need to know.
All right, now let's ask Attorney Ed and Dennis. Attorney, could this Manny Pacquiao have done something, anything, technically speaking, to win that fight?
Ang hirap eh. Kasi may mga occasions sa laban na Pacquiao wanted to do something special. But for some reason, alam mo, pag 42 ka na, yung coordination ng mind and body, parang hindi na nagtatali. Plus, yung style ni Ugas, talagang nahirapan si Manny Pacquiao na i-crack yung kanyang defense. Nakita mo yung mga flurries ni Manny Pacquiao, parang bibilib ka until you realize that Ugas was blocking yung mga suntok niya with his shell defense. He was blocking the shots of Manny Pacquiao. We wanted a more sustained offense. Hindi natin nakita, puro spurts lang. Yung length ni Ugas, nahirapan talaga si Manny Pacquiao. Mahirap talaga ano. Manny Pacquiao said going into this fight that he felt he was just 24. Sabi niya I'm 42 but I feel like I'm 24, pero in the actual fight nakita natin ano, he was really 42. He was really 42. Hindi na yung coordination iba na para siyang may gustong gawin, but for some reason frustrated sa style ni Ugas, and at the same time frustrated also with his inability to get his style going, to establish some rhythm. Nahirapan siya talaga sa labang ito for me, and siguro kung bata-batang Pacquiao talaga, okay. The thing is, sabi ko nga, he still went 12 hard rounds with Ugas. Kaya nga sabi ko, baka bumalik pa eh. Kasi iisipin nila na kung hindi si Ugas to, pick somebody lighter. Huwag kang inactive to another 2 years. Fight agad. Somebody of lesser caliber. Yung ganung style, baka lulusot pa rin eh. Against an ordinary opponent, ano? So, yun ang malaki problema dito. Pero para sa akin, nakikita mo na eh, iba na yung galaw. Iba na yung galaw. Dati sabi nga natin, pag si Manny Pacquiao tinamaan ka, tapos ka na. Pag nakita mong iba yung shuffle ng kanyang paa, alam mong tapos ka na. Pero this time, parang sabi natin, bitin. Bitin. Nakikita natin flashes of brilliance, pero everything was bitin. Yun ang nakita ko dito. At it has to do with age, the inactivity, and of course, Ugas' style, which is really parang antidote sa style ni Manny Pacquiao.
Dennis, ikaw, sa tingin mo ba merong pasanang nagawa si Manny?
With all due respect kay Attorney Ed, think about this, Attorney Ed. I don't want to think that 42 is old because I'm 47, so that makes me older. That's
What
not
about
older.
me? I'm 50. I'm 50.
No.
Magkakalabasan tayo na edad, kaya di ako
Yan na, sige.
makapagsalita.
Gusto niyo
Sakit ka
labasan ng edad,
magsalita.
Think
Alam
about
mo sila,
this.
I
Think
don't want to
about
talk about
this.
age.
All of us will agree that it was still a close fight. Okay. I saw at least 5 rounds that could have gone either way. And in checking the official scores, all 5 rounds were given to Ugas. Okay. So there was really a chance for Manny Pacquiao to win that fight. Actually, I scored it 115-113 for Manny Pacquiao. Partly because I was being biased. No? Partly lang. No? There were close rounds na binigay ko kay Manny Pacquiao. Okay. Now, he went 12 rounds. Okay. He was still in shape. No? In competitive shape, championship shape. Again, I would like to give credit kay Ugas. Kung meron man kulang na dapat niyang ibigay, that was an interim fight in that 2-year span that he was inactive. Okay, but the thing is, Manny Pacquiao was Superman. Okay, and parang Michael Jordan was averaging 35 points, pero at his worst he was averaging 25. Diba? But 25 a game is still NBA caliber. Diba? So yun eh, no? So I felt that naging more issue yung pagiging inactive niya. Okay? Because Ugas had a fight during the pandemic against Abel Ramos. Okay? So saludo pa rin ako, and yung Manny Pacquiao is incomparable. He's a freak of nature. You cannot compare him with other 40+ athletes. Generally speaking, for that matter, you cannot compare him. Only Manny Pacquiao will dictate yung kung ano man yung decision niya, because it's his body, no? He's a different specimen. Sabi ko nga, freak of nature. So we cannot really compare him with the 40-something guys like all of us here.
Salamat at tinawag mo kami 40-something. Boy, at speaking of
Alam mo,
40-something.
Okay sa akin yan.
Badagdag ko lang, no? Hindi sa ako pinakamatanda dito, mga ano kayo. Pero ito nasabihin ko. A lot of people online were actually making comparatives about age. I mean, nabanggit na nga rin ni Dennis ang age. The people who were quoting Larry Holmes, who fought well into his 40s. You had a lot of the heavyweights who fought past their 40s. And I was telling them, iba yung laban ng heavyweight eh. Iba yung laban ng lower weight classes. Iba yung tama ng suntok doon. O nga, mas konti na suntok sa heavyweight, pero pag nasuntok ka na heavyweight, ramdam mo yun, Brad. Sabi ko, ramdam nila yun. Kukunti nga suntok, pero ramdam mo yun. But also, when you talk about somebody who's at 42 already, sabi nga natin kanina, iba na yung command ng utak sa galaw ng katawan. Pero in the part of Dennis nga, but if you really will yourself to do something, lalabas at lalabasan eh. Pero, well, sadly, there were flashes of brilliance for Manny in many rounds, but siguro yung judging, sabi ko nga yung judging, they were expecting more of him. And in comparison, they saw in Ugas that was a counterpoint to what they were expecting from Manny. There was one interview and that I was watching. Sabi nung interviewee, we were expecting the same Manny Pacquiao. But unfortunately, then Yordenis Ugas was ready for him. And indeed he was.
Maiksi lang ah. The second round was the best round for Ugas if you watch that again. And because of that second round, all of a sudden, biglang bumaba yung expectations kay Manny Pacquiao. And na-impress bigla ni Yordenis Ugas that this guy's for real. This guy can hurt Manny Pacquiao. He can hit Manny Pacquiao. And I believe that he was able to influence the judges from second round onwards.
Okay, Nisi, as the youngest guy in the group, no? Sa tingin mo, anong bawi ni Manny dito? What's the redemption for Manny Pacquiao? Anong susunod na dapat niyang gawin? Both as a boxing fan and as an analyst.
For sure, he has nothing more to prove. But if I will have it my way, sana maka at least one more fight to send him off. Pero let's go back. I don't think Manny Pacquiao is old as people say. With all due respect, and I agree with Sir Dennis. He had a good first round, to be honest, and he landed. Let's take note. He landed a good left in the same round, wherein Ugas even acknowledged it by smiling, by giving a good smile on Manny Pacquiao. So totoo yun eh. So it's the style that counteracted Manny Pacquiao's, pesky style, that devil may care style of Manny Pacquiao. Na, alam mo yan, the right hand of Ugas wasn't able to stagger Manny. He made a great effort, at least by changing the complexion of the fight, but by inviting Ugas. There were concerns like staying flat-footed instead of bouncing in and out. But for a 42-year-old boxer to have that kind of work rate in the ring, it's still impressive eh. It's still a test that Manny Pacquiao is still in the top 10 of his division. For me, it's just for me.
Okay, Ryan, looking at the big picture now, you've seen, again, all these boxers can never say no, can't say goodbye, can't back away from the game. Given the fact that beyond Lucas Matisse, 3 years ago, the last time Manny Pacquiao knocked somebody out was Miguel Cotto, 2009. And given that he's, like you said, older, slower, more difficult to execute, what is next? What should he do next?
Manny has said in the past that he wanted to have one last fight in the Philippines. I think that would be something appealing to him. I think that that's something that would be great for the fans, to sort of give him a nice send-off. I don't know what the pandemic situation is going to look like next year, but I would like to see him take a rest, and then if the circumstances allow, let him have one last big fight against a manageable opponent, someone that he can do like what he did with Lucas Matisse at the Philippine Arena. I think that would be a great send-off for him because Manny Pacquiao deserves it. And it might be actually a little bit weird because he's always taken on these big fights. Like he was supposed to fight Errol Spence, and then on short notice, he switches to a completely different fighter and goes out and boxes against Yordenis Ugas. It would almost be strange if he didn't fight like a complete juggernaut opponent, with some devil may care attitude to go out. One last desperado kind of, move. But I think that would be nice for Manny. And, there's never going to be another Manny Pacquiao. Like that's That's the thing that we
Agree.
really need to keep in mind. So, yeah, let the good times roll. Let Manny Pacquiao go out one last time. I think that would be great. He's got nothing left to prove. I mean, what he's done in his career, no one's ever going to do it again. So,
Yeah.
And unless there's like some kind of, you know, cyborg boxers that come out, I don't know.
I like that. One last fight here in the Philippines. Your
Yeah.
Dennis Ugas, very marketable. He can beat Ugas in a rematch.
Attorney Ed, what do you think?
I think that sounds good.
Well, he is planning to seek a higher post sa elections next year. So a farewell fight could easily be tied to that campaign to a higher post. Can you imagine all the PR that a fight will generate? Ano, kandidato ako, pagkatapos lalaban ako, hindi ba? Hindi ako kailangan mag house to house eh. Manood na lang sila sa bahay nila ng labang ko. Oh, so magandang anggulo 'yon, but this has been the story of Manny Pacquiao eh. You know, serving too many masters at the same time. Politiko, boxing. In fact, ito nga yung regret ko eh. Imagine what he accomplished, 8 world titles. Imagine had he concentrated solely on boxing. Wala yung mga politika na yan. Sana ngayon lang niya simulan kung kailan patapos na yung career niya. All those distractions, and yet he still won 8 world titles. Di ba? Pero nakita mo, maraming distraction. Pero this is the reality, you know. He was able to get away with it, set up many records, at mukhang ganito pa rin magtatapos. Tied up pa rin to a political career na tinatarget niya. So for me, well, he will fight again only because it's tied up to his political plans. So may may caveat para sa akin. It's not about really fitting farewell to a boxing king. It's also tied up to his political
Ambition.
plans.
All right, let's let Nisi weigh in on the discussion. Fight here in the Philippines. I think we're all in agreement that that would be a great idea. Who would you want him to fight in a farewell, farewell tour, so to speak?
If he decides to fight again, at least to give him a proper send-off. The two possible opponents that I have in mind for Manny Pacquiao is number 1, Robert Guerrero, and the second is Abel Ramos. Those two boxers won't be like Ryan said, manageable opponents. Won't be a nightmare for him stylistically. And yes, he deserves to have that kind of exit. Countless fighters have tried to end their careers on a high note, but most of them failed miserably. And only a few managed to execute a storybook endings to their careers. And I hope Manny can accomplish that kind of exit with or without a title.
Go ahead. Your thoughts?
Well, I will go against the grain here, but I will agree that he should have another fight. But if he does have another fight, I think the political ambition should be put aside for now to really just concentrate on that
Cannot
last
be.
fight. On that last fight. But see, that's
I
it,
agree with
Dennis.
Attorney Ed.
No, but that's it. If kung lalaban ka at ang pakay mo ay lalaban ka dahil gagamitin mo sa politika, mahirap talaga yun. We are all already in agreement that at 42, medyo may kinks in the armor na. Nakita niyo yung kinks in the armor di ba? So, lalaban ka dahil kailangan mo para sa politika, medyo mahirap yun.
They will not
Gagawin mo
admit
talaga
it.
yun,
They will not
gagawin mo
admit it.
talaga yun, if really gonna do that, then you have to concentrate on just fighting, training for the fight, and not campaigning. Because if you do it simultaneously, well, sorry, my friend, the results might not turn out to be the answer to both of your ambitions.
All right,
Your swan song
for
and
me-
to your political career.
For me, the opponent and the result of the fight will not matter. Why? Because this will be one of those, do you remember where you were when that happened kind of event. Okay? Fight Floyd Mayweather again. Fight Juan Manuel Marquez again. Right? Because the result won't matter. What is important is we are given a chance to properly thank him for all the good memories and to be able to say goodbye, in a proper fashion, the way legends deserve it. Because, in basketball, you have a farewell tour. You get to play all the other teams again before you retire. But in this case, it doesn't happen. So With all due respect to Manny Pacquiao, our first Eastern Communications fearless fighter is your Dennis Ugas for the magnificent job that he did today. Boyet is working on a story about replacement fighters who have beaten the odds and come out as world champions. Okay, now my next question is, what is next for Pacquiao in terms of the big picture, in terms of boxing? He's going, obviously he has MP promotions and all of this. Attorney Ed, the business side of boxing will definitely continue for Manny Pacquiao, but how big a part of that, of his life, will that still be?
Well, he has been quite active, conducting the baton for MP promotions. He will be given enough time to concentrate on this. He has some good fighters under MP promotions, but I don't know. He really has a lot of pondering to do because, with Manny Pacquiao, he wants to do so many things at the same time, so many things on his plate, and can't figure out how to isolate this, do it one at a time. He wants to do it all at the same time. So that has been the problem, but I don't know. For me, there's a lot of things to consider. A lot of things to consider. What should be done next? He's getting up in years. It's time to, pick what you really want to do. You can't keep doing everything at the same time. Mamili ka na talaga kung anong in the long run. Ito na talaga ang gagawin ko. Dito na ako patungo. Kasi parang wala pa rin direksyon hanggang ngayon eh. Hindi mo pa rin malaman. Are you really retiring? Are you running for a political post? What is really next for Manny Pacquiao? So many things, magulo pa rin eh, blurry pa rin yung picture para sa akin. We thought na meron ng definite conclusion with the loss to Ugas, pero eto nga lumilitaw sa atin parang hindi pa rin eh, hindi ba? Pero tatakbo pa rin siya. Sabi niya he will make the announcement next month. Kung ano ang kanyang magiging political plans, marami pa din eh, marami pa rin siyang gustong gawin eh. Pero dapat i-narrow down mo na yung mga gagawin mo. It's time to narrow it down. Time to narrow it down. Kasi wind up ka na eh. Hindi pwedeng chaotic pa rin eh. Time to ano yung priorities mo? What do you want to do? Do you want to handle boxers? Do you want a political career? Ano ba talaga? Time to narrow down the list.
All right. To wrap up this discussion, Ryan, his business interests in the US, obviously, if he retires from boxing, if he aspires for a higher office, he's going to have to delegate, and will his business interests in the US flourish because he's no longer involved, or will they suffer because his name isn't really the horse pulling the cart, so to speak?
Well, the thing is that he has a partnership deal with PBC, Premier Boxing Champions, and they have been putting the MP promotion fighters on the airwaves and on the undercards, and if the partnership can continue with them, that would be great for the Filipino boxers, because this is not just Manny's friends here on the card. These are really good fighters. We're talking about Yamir Marshall. We saw Mark Magsayo last night. German Ancajas. These are really good fighters.
Solid lineup.
It's a very solid lineup. And what I think is the most solid of all of that is that you have Sean Gibbons, who is running the show. And Sean Gibbons has a great relationship with a lot of different promoters, particularly the people behind PBC. And Manny wouldn't have to really focus and be a part of the day-to-day stuff as long as Sean Gibbons is running that show. So I think that can really continue. I think that this is not a vanity project. This isn't, how sometimes we used to look at even Floyd Mayweather's fighters back in the day, when his stable started, it was his friends, the guys in his gym, and he was given the opportunity on those cards. These are the best fighters that the Philippines has, really, So yeah, no, I think that will be something that can continue because that's a quality stable.
All right. Dennis, Boyet, pasukin naman natin yung undercard, no? Siyempre lahat tayo tuwan-tuwa para sa kaibigan nating si Mark Magsayo. The lost boy finally has a home in MP Promotions and finally broke through with the knockout in the US since joining MP Promotions. Can you break down what Magsayo did well, and if there are any other notables in the undercard, not just Filipino fighters, but potential opponents for Filipino fighters?
Well, I'll just break down a bit of the Magsayo fight because I'm sure Dennis will be giving a more comprehensive overview of it. Pero from my standpoint, alam mo, nabanggit mo nga, the lost boy, itong si Magsayo. Starting off very strong in the first round, but pagdating nung, the first round, scoring a knockdown in the first round. Biglang nung fifth round, siya naman yung nabigyan. And that really surprised me. After the fifth round, that surprised me. But what scared me all the more was him being behind on points. And he really had to scramble because of the attacking style of the opponent. So kailangan niya talagang bumawi at bumawi big. One of the things which I noticed with Magsayo is that medyo mahina yung lateral movement. Parating backpedal. Pag gustong ng distansya sa kalaban, backpedal na ginagawa, backpedal. He doesn't have that variety of moves as of yet to evade an opponent's punches. And he should develop, the hand speed is okay, but the body speed is what I need to see more of an improvement of. He should be able to evade the punches more with the lateral movement and an unpredictability as to how he will move before landing a punch, or how to prepare to land a punch via a jab, which he did not do consistently on this fight. Ako, yung suntok niya yun, magandang preparation, because when the bell rang for the 10th round, kita mo sa mukha niya tapusin ko to. I will give it my all. I will go all out in the 10th round. And he did. And with that fantastic right cross to end that bout against this opponent. Galing.
All right, Dennis.
Mark Magsayo is still a work in progress, but the most important aspect of his skill is there, no? And sa akin, he has already proven that he's got heart and outstanding stamina. Grabing stamina na nakita ko. He got floored against Chris Avalos. I saw that personally in Cebu. He came back and he won the fight by a knockout. He floored Ceja. He got floored by Ceja, and he won by knockout, no? While trailing on all three scorecards. You know? So a star is born today, you know, with Mark Magsayo. So sa tingin ko, yung dapat lang itama rito ni Mark Magsayo is to make the proper adjustments. Tama si Boyet, no? Actually, that was the right thing to do because he was facing someone who was moving forward and was very aggressive. No? So he did the right thing. Atras, atras, atras. Ang kulang yung jab. Ang kulang yung side to side. No? So it's more of the tactical aspect which can be taught. No? With all due respect kay Freddie Roach, alam mo kasi si Freddie Roach, syempre kanina yung utak niya na kay Manny Pacquiao. I was really surprised, ano, that the last two fights before Manny Pacquiao, Freddie Roach was working. Okay? So probably add more another trainer na medyo tactically may maidadagdag sa kanya, because I think the heart is there, the stamina, the skill is there, toughness, yung tactical aspect of his a total package, yun na lang yung kulang kay Mark Magsayo.
All right, I agree completely, and more so, no, if I may add, into 2019, Mark Magsayo self-promoted, fought in Bohol against another former world champion who moved up in weight, in Panya Utok, and he couldn't solve the puzzle there. It went to a unanimous decision. So I am very happy for him for this breakthrough. Now, Nisi, Ryan, what are some of the big stories that we should look forward to as round by round rolls on? Nisi?
Well, this weekend we have a very special treat for our boxing purists like Ryan Songalia, because later this weekend we will have Jake Paul goes up against former UFC welterweight champion Tyron Woodley in an 8-round boxing match. It's set to take place at the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland, Ohio. Woodley is making his boxing debut after an 8-year stint with the UFC. So Woodley opted not to renew his contract with the UFC after losing to Vicente Luque via first-round submission at UFC 260 last March. On the other hand, Jake Paul will be making his fourth trip to the ring. His most recent victim was former Bellator champion Ben Askren, who turns out to be Woodley's best friend. So in Philippine boxing, former Olympian Charlie Suarez returns to action on September 4 against Lawrence Rosas in Urdaneta, Pangasinan, under Kukoy Ilordes, UKC.
All right, Ryan?
That's going to be such an exciting fight right there. You know, for real boxing purists, the Jake Paul. I can't wait for that. You know, when are we going to get?
Hey, don't forget Oscar De La Hoya.
Yeah, Oscar
versus
De La Hoya.
Vitor Belfort.
Yeah, you know, I mean, all the great boxing purists, like, you know, we're really going to find out who's, you know, the best of the best now with all these fights. I can't wait for when Logan Paul returns to the ring against Mickey Mouse, you know, his former employer, and we can really see that grudge match worked out. This is.
Hey, Ryan, aren't you being enticed to make a comeback?
Yeah, you know, I'm going to make a comeback against the ham sandwich. We're going to make that happen. You know?
All right, and yan po mga kaibigan, that, ladies and gentlemen, is in a nutshell what the craziness that you're going to see Monday to Friday, alas 6 po ng gabi sa Facebook at susundan kaagad sa YouTube. That is the first episode of Round by Round, and what we're going to do, as we always do, is give out our parting shots in reverse order. Let's start with Boyet.
Mga kaibigan, huwag niyo kalimutan na Monday to Friday, samahan niyo po kami sa isang napakasayang diskusyon tungkol po sa larangan ng boxing. Hindi po parating seryoso ang boxing. Hindi po parating seryoso. Meron din pong light moments. So samahan niyo kami Monday to Friday on YouTube and on Facebook. Salamat po.
Nisi Casiano.
Dahil ako'y millennial dito, so like, comment, subscribe sa YouTube and Facebook channels na Round by Round.
All right, Attorney Ed.
Well, do follow us dito sa Round by Round. Marami pa po. Ito ay initial salvo pa lamang. Marami pang mga kombinasyon na parating. So, stay tuned lamang kayo.
Ryan?
I hope to see everyone here and just enjoy all the hijinks that we have planned and all the hijinks that we don't have planned. We're all boxing lovers at heart, and we're journalists at heart, and we're going to have a good time, and we're going to be talking about the sport that really gets us going.
Well, all the information you'll get from this show, all the kind of interviews that you want, ibibigay po namin sa inyo, round by round.
Dennis Principe. And that is Round by Round, presented by Eastern Communications. I'm Bill Velasco. Ryan, Dennis, and Boyet are working tomorrow night. Until next time, stay tuned for Round by Round. Take care. God bless.